Nicholas.
Welcome to the Idiot's Odyssey episode 4, and here are your headlines.
Cedric Nicholas Troyan is to replace Frank Darabont as the Huntsman director.
Tom Hardy may be out, and Jake Gyllenhaal may not want it, but there may be a possible appearance by Ben Affleck in the Suicide Squad.
Our favourite old mutants, Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, won't be returning for XMen Apocalypse.
Fox are in talks for a possible X-Files return. Prison Break has been mentioned, all due to the success of 24 Live Another Day. The Foxcatcher confusion continues as Mark Schultz has claimed he went temporarily insane. Batman fighting style may be more martial arts in Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, and the Raid 3 may be more than 3 years away, according to Garrett Evans.
Moving on from news that makes me sad, the Eternal Sunshine screenwriter sets his directing debut with the arty film Where is Rocky 3. Jennifer Lawrence is going to be starring in a James Cameron produced biopic.
Melissa Benoist has been announced as the new Supergirl for CBS, continuing in the DC universe.
We tell you about the 50 Shades scene that was too hot and too filled with tampons for actual cinemas.
Also, we're going to be doing a dramatic reading of this particular scene from the book. So this will be an explicit scene, so watch out for that.
Yeah, get the kids out. Moving back to actual films you can watch with your parents in the room, Cedric Nicholas Troyan is going to replace Frank Darabont as Snow White and the Huntsman director. They are going from the man who gave us The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile and The Mist and The Walking Dead to the man who did special effects on the last film and
I think
directed
Darabont is probably one of the best writer-directors around.
He's incredibly consistent.
He's brilliant.
Yeah. Now, the good news is they're keeping his script. So this new dude can't screw the story up.
Oh, I'm sure he'll manage it if he tries.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we're being too harsh.
Yeah. I'm being harsh on the guy purely because
he's got nothing on it. He's got no direction so far.
I think the key thing is, some guys have come out of the special effects kind of scene and they've really wowed us. Garrett Edwards springs to mind, and Neil Blomkamp.
I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying, there's no proven pedigree compared to Frank Darabont.
Exactly. You had Frank Darabont. What are you doing? They've still got Chris Hemsworth and Charlize Theron and Emily Blunt in talks to star in the film, which will make me even more sad if the special effects guy blows it. Just wrecks this with some sort of George Lucas shenanigans.
I know you say that Emily Blunt was in talks, right?
Yep.
But was she in talks before or after Darabont left?
I don't know. See, the way
this could throw the whole thing out.
The way this thing happened, and this is pure speculation on my part. I do wonder though if they were like, okay, Frank, you wrote our script for us. You fixed that. Now please leave. Because they cited creative differences as well in Darabont leaving. And if Frank Darabont is having creative differences with you, I think normally the correct course of action is to roll over and do whatever Frank Darabont wants.
Yeah, but the thing is, if they're having creative differences, but they're still keeping his script, what?
Yeah, I'm just hoping that this isn't a bad sign for the film. Because they could do with an upper after the thing where Rupert Sanders couldn't keep his hands off Kristen Stewart and made a horrible piece of a film on top of that.
Yeah, well, that was just...
Yeah, Snow White and the Huntsman. You can look up what happened there.
So anyway, Tom Hardy has pulled out of Suicide Squad, so he won't be playing Rick Flag anymore. Jake Gyllenhaal was in talks to take over as Rick Flag, but he's pulled out as well. And what do you think of that so far now, before we move on to the other part?
Okay, now that they've managed to somehow knock two of the... They've killed my boner twice.
Who are they going to be... oh, right, congratulations, you're our third choice. Who's going to be the third choice, I wonder?
Yeah, it's like you're not even sloppy seconds, man. You're sloppy third.
To be fair, to follow...
This role is lived in.
To follow after these two is still pretty cool,
Yeah.
And that's a pretty high standard they're setting.
It's you're almost good enough.
Well, Tom Hardy, of course, dropped out because of scheduling problems.
Yeah, nobody knows why Jake Gyllenhaal dropped out except for Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, and probably his agent as well. But at least there have been rumours that Ben Affleck may actually appear in it as Batman, leading up to his own Batman solo film.
Yeah, which I guess it'll be nice to see Ben Affleck in the role.
Yeah, because apparently it's going to be the fact that he's going to be there, and you're going to have Joker there, and I don't know. I'm losing more and more faith in this, because they lost Tom Hardy, and then suddenly you're saying, "Oh, don't worry, Batman's going to be showing up as well." You know, it's becoming less and less of a kind of standalone film. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, the Marvel films are less and less standalone films as well, and they're still keeping that quality there. I feel like the problem's more that they're trying to imitate Marvel's.
The thing is, this was supposed to feel like DC's version, well, not DC's version, but DC's kind of answer to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Where Guardians of the Galaxy, there was slight little clever nods to the other stuff, but there wasn't. But this is just, I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's going to absolutely ruin it.
I don't think so. I think they've still got a solid enough cast, and they've got a solid director, so I wouldn't fear too much.
Yeah, it's like, as long as it's just a cute little nod, like maybe they'll just show an oversized cod piece in one of the scenes.
Hopefully not. Seriously, what's your fascination with the dong shot?
I've seen the dong shot in Gone Girl, if anyone's wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all seen Ben Affleck's chunk now.
But I'm looking forward to seeing Ben Affleck play Batman in this. It'd be a nice teaser, and I'm more concerned about the actual character, not his anatomy. Ferg?
I was puzzled by the piece of casting when it came through, and I'm still puzzled by it, but I'm sure that they've seen something in Ben Affleck besides star power and the ability to put arses on seats with that star power.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, moving on to some Marvel news, Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen won't be returning for X-Men Apocalypse.
This broke my little bitty heart.
Yeah, it broke all of our itty bitty hearts. I mean, they were... It's weird. They were the prestige actors who gave the story. They were never the emotional core, but they gave the story some gravitas. It's like Anthony Hopkins and Thor.
Are you talking about the last film, or are you talking about in all the franchises?
All the films.
Yeah.
Except for X-Men 3, nothing could have saved that clusterfuck.
I agree with you there. The thing is that I thought they were brilliant in X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
And I love what they were doing there. But you know the way at the end... Spoilers, by the way, obviously.
Yeah.
At the end of that film, that you have this reset timeline.
Yeah.
And you have Wolverine waking up and encounters Professor X, and it is Patrick Stewart. But like, what now? Like, as in, do we just stop there? Like, there's no continuation of that thing. It just goes back into the 80s and the 90s, or the 80s, I should say.
Now, apparently, yeah, they're going back into the characters when they were younger. So
there is no split in the timeline now.
Oh, there is.
Well, I'm not saying there's no, as in you're not like experiencing it in the 80s and in the future.
No, they're forgetting all about that messed up timeline that we saw in X-Men Days of Future Past.
Well, you mean the fixed timeline?
No, I'm talking about the messed up timeline. I mean, the first timeline that we saw, X1, X2, and X3 were all now a messed up timeline. If you think about it, it's just bits of that timeline would be incorporated into the new timeline.
Right.
See, this is why
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. This is why I admire how easy they made it to understand the time travel in X-Men Days of Future Past.
I feel like I need to draw a graph to explain what I'm talking about. Though.
Yeah, it's like it feels completely intuitive when you're in the cinema, and yeah, when you start talking about it, there are actually a lot of implications.
What I'm thinking is, they won't go back to that, so they'll just be focusing on the 80s, and what happened there is just that's that.
Pretty much,
You see, all of the 80s would have occurred before any of the events of X-Men 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any more time travel, and I think that's the only way they can fit those guys in.
Yeah.
When they're working with Lawrence and McAvoy and Fassbender and all the new hotness.
Yeah, and that's definitely the way I feel now. After the success of 24 Live Another Day, Fox are apparently in talks with David Duchovny and Chris Carter and Gillian Anderson to reprise their roles in the X-Files continuation, and this is very exciting news. I know.
Yeah, I never watched the X-Files that much, but it felt like
same here. But it's still very interesting that they're doing this.
Yeah, there was a time where you couldn't walk 10 feet without hearing someone talk about the X-Files. It was a defining TV show of the 90s, probably at this stage. It fell a little bit outside my zeitgeist, let's say.
Yeah, but it's very interesting cast, and it's a very interesting possibility of this cast returning, and it's a great show. And
yeah, that's one thing. People loved the X-Files.
And the thing is, originally there was more of a monster of the week kind of thing, but now they'll probably, if they were to come back, it would probably be more serialized.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of talk about how X-Files left it on a cliffhanger, and they were always talking about bringing the cast back to resolve that cliffhanger. And I feel like now that Fox, given the success of 24 Living Our Day, are open to this sort of thing, this could be the ideal opportunity to actually bring that back in and give all those fans what they've waited for all these years.
I think one of the big surprises is that they are doing it like this. Is that because after the film, the film that was made during the series, and the film that was made after it, I want to believe that there was just this thought that they'd occasionally just bring it back every decade or so to do another film, but instead they're actually doing it with a TV series, which wasn't what we expected. But sure, whatever.
Yeah, it's a. If they're doing it and there's still in early talks, it's probably going to be another...
Yeah, still very early talks, we must emphasise.
Yeah, we're probably talking like another limited series, maybe.
Yeah,
which it seems like it seems like a nice way to explore that sort of material while still going sort of in depth in it. I mean, you don't have to cram it all into 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's true actually. But you were saying 24 has 24 next round has a they're eyeing up another year.
Exactly. This could be as early as 2016. Apparently, the creative team behind 24, after approaching a Fox executive with what seemed to him like a really good idea for a 24 season without Kiefer Sutherland. Which,
I'm against it.
Yeah, I know. I love Jack Bauer too. Yeah, I think there were more talks recently about Ivan Stahovsky taking over.
All right.
Yeah. Or so the legend goes.
Well, unfortunately, she's been ruined for me because of Dexter. Or she ruined Dexter for me. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, well, Dexter
if you've seen Dexter, you'll appreciate what I mean.
I think at the end, Dexter ruined Dexter for everyone.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, it sort of collapsed in on itself into a sort of scripting black hole in which Dexter wanted nothing more than to go off and chop wood. Also,
a possible return for Prison Break was briefly mentioned, but more in a light-hearted sense.
Yeah,
more than likely won't.
They were having a giggle over that one, especially considering huge Prison Break spoilers. Michael Scofield dies at the end, so it wouldn't be much of a revival.
Well, to be fair, Sarah did die in the middle of the series, and then she wasn't dead.
Yeah,
because she changed her the actress changed her mind. You know.
Didn't he knock Sarah up at the end of the series?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this could have been like hit some sort of weird prison break away from it, the responsibilities of fatherhood.
How to run away from fatherhood.
This could be a very deep direction for Prison Break.
We'll see how that works out.
Yeah, this is obviously, and I want to emphasise again, we're ripping the piss here. Prison Break is not coming back as far as anyone can tell.
Yeah, it's a long shot at best. Now, it's hard to tell if Mark Schultz wants to hug or wants to kill Bennett Miller, director of Foxcatcher, because he's changed his mind a lot of times on this thing. Because right now, his latest thing is that he's said he was temporarily insane when he badmouthed the director about the approach that he took with his character, or whatever.
Yeah.
In Foxcatcher.
I mean, first Mark Schultz loved the film. Then he got pretty upset with the film and said that it was it was mostly because of the gay overtones of some of the scenes. He really didn't like that for some reason.
Yeah, you can understand it, but I don't know, like.
And now, he's flip-flopped back again.
Yeah, he's flip-flopped and basically said that no, it's actually a lovely film. Or something like that.
That Bennett Miller
he's claiming that he's gone temporarily insane. What the hell's going on, like?
My current theory on this is that it's all a ploy to lure Bennett Miller back in so he can throw some of those sick wrestling moves on him to punish him for how he was portrayed in the film.
Is he just very kind of upset about revisiting that time, maybe?
Well, yeah, it was sort of a difficult time.
Yeah, it was a difficult time for everything.
Yeah, no Foxcatcher spoilers, but that was a tough time in the guy's life.
Yeah, and you can understand him being a little bit annoyed at like how something could be interpreted as homosexual when it wasn't, or when it was just plain weird. It's hard to tell exactly what the director meant by some of those scenes, but
well, I feel like
they're very very open to interpretation, aren't they?
They are very open to interpretation, but that being said, I feel there's an artistic interpretation and there's a literal interpretation. And the problem is that it's very, very easy to take literal interpretation from that particular scene, considering just the camera angles and the facial expressions that they have Channing Tatum using, and the whole positioning of the thing, which I think was more of a metaphorical thing.
I don't think it was even just that scene. I think there was a general kind of, giving weird gifts, giving gifts and stuff in the middle of the night and that kind of stuff. It was just...
Yeah, plus the way Channing Tatum, he dyed his hair blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looked like it. They gave him a bit more of a Rent Boy vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was I think they were trying to just show that he was really getting less into his wrestling, but still.
Yeah, it was a very. I don't know, but it was very kind of symbolic the way he shaved off the highlights. Then. Yeah,
I think it was part of the film that the director had he had a certain kind of... He had something he wanted to portray, but he ended up portraying something very different.
Yeah, absolutely. In Batman vs Superman news, Guillermo Crespo has said that basically, Batman will be doing more martial arts feel to it anyway. He is, of course, the the fighting supervisor for the film, and he's said, "Now, Batman, it's going to fight the way I've always dreamed seeing him fight. He's a character so prepared in martial arts that you can do a lot of things with him, but filmmakers usually don't go all the way with it." Now, this quote came from when he was talking to Batman News. We'll put the link to the article in the notes. He did go on to actually say that he think that Christopher Nolan was great. But still, it's interesting that they are going to do more martial arts of Batman, because that's the way I always imagined him fighting. But we didn't see that much of it in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, the first thing this makes me think of, and I always think of this in martial arts, is I hope these guys have been watching a load of Garrett Evans. I mean,
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see them throwing some what was that Garrett Evans martial art called again? Pansilat, I think. Or, even...
There's a name for it.
There's a name for it. I can't remember. Apologies, Indonesia. Or, even some Krav Maga. I'd love to see Batman just knocking some guy on the ground and just pounding the hell out of him.
Yeah, because this is the way I always imagined it. And you imagine that he probably was able to fight like this in the Dark Knight trilogy because of the way he went with the League of Shadows. But they obviously focused more on the whole idea of the mythos of the bat.
That's
coming from out of nothing.
Now you see me, now you don't. And also the camera is moving at about 100 miles an hour in most of those scenes.
Yeah, that's very deliberate.
Yeah, I mean, the choreography could have been fantastic, but even so, it just would have been difficult to tell what was going on. And I feel like this is going to be a more focusing on Batman's skill set sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And moving on anyway, in other news, Garrett Evans, director of the Raid 1 and 2, has basically confirmed that Raid 3 will be a long time waiting for it, at least another 2 to 3 years. And this is following on from an interview that he gave Crave Online. In this interview he said, "I'm not touching the Raid 3 for a couple of years from now. I don't have any plans to do the Raid 3 within the next 2 or 3 years, so I'm going to take a break from that franchise for a bit. I want to do some things outside of Indonesia for 2 films, then come back to Indonesia and shoot the Raid 3. Recently enough, in fact, only 2 days ago, he sent out a tweet saying, the Raid 3 isn't going to be happening anytime soon. Ideas in my head, nothing written, no set date, probably 2018 to 2019 possible.
This news makes me sad. I love the Raid and I love the Raid 2. But that being said, upside, he's taking his time with it. He'll probably have a million ideas in his head by the time the Raid 3 comes along. Because from the Raid 1 to the Raid 2, I feel like he jumped to one of the best action films of all time to maybe the apex of over-the-top martial arts action.
Absolutely. But also you have to keep in mind that if he's leaving Indonesia for a while, from what I'm reading anyway, he could be coming back with a huge budget somewhere in maybe America and like bringing something similar to that.
Yeah, I think The Raid as well, it was incredible that an Indonesian film like that. It was a leading release internationally. It had a huge advertising campaign behind it. I think they had Linkin Park doing the soundtrack on the second one, or one of the, or one of the guys behind Linkin Park. Anyway,
that's mighty all right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you wouldn't believe me. But they picked up just a massive amount of international interest, and I feel like Garrett Evans, whenever he's ready to wow us with The Raid 3, please wow us with The Raid 3.
Yeah, I think because of the escalation in terms of the plot, he kind of has to go another step now with Raid 3.
Yeah, and I don't know that there is another step you can take.
Exactly, I think he's trying to figure that out as well.
Yeah, it's like, how do you top perfection? I mean, but then I said that about The Raid 1, it's just like, they found the ceiling of action with The Raid 1, and then they just punched right through that ceiling into a new ceiling for The Raid 2.
I suspect you're going to have some mixed feelings about some class of the American version that they're considering making.
I don't have mixed feelings. This is going to be awful.
Yeah, because it's being directed by the same director who brought you Expendables 3, Patrick Hughes. And it's dodgy whether or not he's basically there for a puppet for Stallone. It's hard to tell.
Yeah,
because I actually thought Stallone had directed that until I checked it up.
Yeah, I'm just glad that there's no news of Stallone getting anywhere near the Raid remake. It's a comfort to me that at least they haven't gone that far. But why? They already made the American version of the Raid, and it was called Dread, and it was actually really good.
Well, yeah, there was nothing wrong with Dread, and I love Dread.
There was nothing wrong with Dread.
The thing is, I don't think Dread doesn't need to live in the shadow of the Raid.
It doesn't need to live in the shadow of the Raid. Dread was fantastic. It was one of the weirdest comic book films I've seen, and it was just so stripped down. It wasn't filled with fan service.
Yeah, but the thing
it really worked as like just a straight ahead action film.
If that got a sequel, then it would really explore into the world. But that's not really the point we were getting at.
I mean, like Dread looked like it was shot. Dread looked like it was shot in the apartment block version of a favela.
Yeah.
Which was it was a great aesthetic, and I loved it. And
I did. I thought Karl Urban was brilliant in his Dread as well.
Yeah, if they can get the money together to actually make a sequel, I'm fully on board with seeing that again.
Yeah, ditto.
And moving on to news that you're going to want to sit down and get a drink for. The Eternal Sunshine screenwriter is getting his directing debut with the arty thriller Where is Rocky 2? Pierre Bismuth is the French artist who nabbed an original screenplay Oscar for his work with Charlie Kaufman in writing Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which, if you haven't seen, you should see. And he is writing what could be the weirdest concept for a film I've ever seen in my life. Weaving fiction and documentary style footage, not weird yet. Whereas Rocky 2 is a multi-layered thriller revolving around Bismuth's, he's written himself into the script, near-obsessive search for a mysterious object, believed to be a fake rock that was created by artist Ed Ruscha in 1976, and reportedly hidden in the Californian desert. So far, this is a film about trying to find a fake rock in the middle of a desert. Moving on. On top of hiring a private detective to uncover the truth about the object, Bismuth hires two screenwriters to come up with a fiction story chronicling the search for Ruscha's rock. There are now two screenwriters involved in the film writing a fictional story about him searching for the rock, while he also has bits of the script chronicling his actual search for the rock. Maybe screenwriters.
It gets weirder.
I don't know if it gets weirder. They've hired two other actual screenwriters to take part in the project. D.V. De Vincentis and Anthony Peckham. And his statement about his vision for the project, Bismuth said, Where is Rocky 2 is more about Ed Ruscha and finding his hidden art. At the core, it is a film about how we project fantasies and how works of art can be the perfect object of fantasy. See, what I'm saying is, I'm not surprised this guy was involved in the creation of something as weird as the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and this seems a zillion times weirder. If you know me, you know I like weird.
This is just, it sounds very convoluted. But when you first said that, I actually thought it was about what was wrong with what was wrong with Rocky 2, the actual Rocky Balboa film. And I was very confused when you started reading that out.
Yeah, you're not the only one. I mean, there's so many ways to just interpret the synopsis.
Oh, by the way, just to be clear, as far as we can tell, there is no Where is Rocky 1. It's this is the first film, Where is Rocky 2?
Yeah, about his search for an actual rock.
Okay.
So I just there's a whole. It feels very like Exit Through the Gift Shop.
The thing is, this is his directing debut, right?
It's his directing debut.
Is this not almost too complicated for your directing debut?
Maybe not.
Do you have a lot of faith in him?
Well, it's even if this was your 50th film, I feel like it'd be complicated.
I suppose
material.
it depends on what way. If he has the vision, he has the vision.
Exactly. Maybe in this case, it's just best to know to leave it to the one guy in the room who understands what the hell this film is about. Because God knows I don't right now, and I look forward to trying to figure it out whenever this shows up in cinemas.
Has he got any kind of release date or estimation?
Nothing on that yet. He's just been given his green light to produce this thing. Next up, we have Jennifer Lawrence, who is going to be starring in a James Cameron-produced biopic about two freedivers, Francois Pipin Ferreras and his wife Audrey Mestre, Lawrence playing Mestre, who competed to travel as deeply as possible underwater on a single breath of air. Now, first off, this sounds like some really interesting pushing the limits of human endurance sort of material. Plus, there's the opportunity for some really awesome underwater photography with James Cameron producing. And for anyone who liked the way The Hunger Games was directed, and for all the issues I had with things like the
first Hunger Games or the rest of them.
Francis Lawrence.
Oh, he was he was 2 onwards.
Ah, my mistake. So for all the issues I have with the second Hunger Games film not actually having a bloody ending, I feel like the way they were directed was pretty superb. As action films like that go.
Honest to God, didn't watch that movie.
It's okay.
Didn't see it. I saw the first one, wasn't overly impressed, didn't really love the hype, didn't think it deserved the hype. Then I did see Mockingjay Part 1. It was alright.
I thought the films looked really nice. But like this there's a sort of a thing right now of like the young adult thriller, and admittedly in that category, I was comparing them with, say, Twilight, which was complete garbage. So maybe they had an unfair advantage, but I liked it for what it was.
Yeah, it was okay. But that's what I'm saying. Okay, it wasn't anything special or something. But getting back to the actual film.
Okay, so Francis Lawrence will be directing her. If you liked his work on the Hunger Games, he's helming this as well. So maybe you like this.
But James Cameron will be producing this, and so that means James Cameron's going back underwater, just the same way. Do you think it'll have somewhat of a similar feel to its underwater scenes to the way that Titanic's underwater scenes with the submarine had?
Maybe. I mean, right now my theory is that James Cameron is is just making bigger and bigger films in the hopes that one day he'll be able to buy the rights to Under the Sea off Disney.
Or do you think he's more hands off right now, or what do you think?
I don't know. I'm just guessing that with Cameron behind it, they're never going to struggle for special effects. We're probably going to see some pretty spectacular underwater photography, because if there's one guy who loves that, it's James Cameron.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's all I have to say on the story. It's more Jennifer Lawrence. This is probably going to be good stuff.
Yeah, hopefully. Is it based on a true story?
It is based on a true story. Okay.
In DC news, Lisa Benoist has been confirmed as Supergirl for CBS. She'll be headlining her own show for Supergirl, which will take place in the same universe as Arrow and the Flash TV shows for DC. So this is interesting because she's already been in Glee, Whiplash, and The Good Wife, so she has got some acting chops on her.
Yeah, I don't necessarily...
Also, she's fine looking.
Yeah, she is fine looking. I'm going to say that. I mean, I don't know, I felt like there was a lot of writer wish fulfillment going on in the romance subplot of Whiplash. It was classic, let's say, 500 Days of Summer sort of nerdy wish fulfillment, or maybe 500 Days of Summer
was this more of a subplot?
Yeah, it was a subplot that was kind of designed to show that later. It was designed to show his obsession with drumming later. It was serving a different purpose in the film. I just felt like the subplot was so poorly handled. It's just an example of a writer just wanting like a sort of a shoulder to cry on about every bloody thing in his life.
Do you think this was the great weakness of the film?
Yeah, I'd say that. It was a great weakness of the film. I felt like it was a poorly handled subplot, and they were lucky that the rest of the film was so damn good.
Well, the good thing is that getting back to Melissa Benoist, she has got the fact that she's got so much like relatively high profile TV and film work does show that they have at least got the casting right in it, I think.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Plus, okay, the romance scenes in Whiplash were they were written in a cringe-worthy way, but her choices with what was on the page I actually really liked. So I approve of her as an actress.
You think her acting was good in it?
Yeah, I liked it. It's like it was naturalistic, but there were some cool choices in there in terms of how she approached performance.
It's also been confirmed that Jimmy Olsen will have some appearance in this TV series as well. Probably major, I'm guessing. I'm of course referring to Jimmy Olsen, the classic Superman character from the DC comics.
So first off, the 50 Shades of Grey movie won't be including the infamous tampon scene. For those of you who haven't read 50 Shades of Grey, so basically for those of you who aren't mothers who, have a little, not quite enough excitement in their lives, this is the scene where Christian Grey pulls out...
This is explicit.
Yeah, kids out now. I'm not reading this to kids. This is the scene where Christian Grey pulls out Anastasia Steele's tampon so he can keep banging her, which apparently was it was cut from the script and it was never part of the conversation, which seemed to disappoint certain people among the fan base. And I guess that attitude explains why the film got an NC-17 instead of an R.
Yeah, well,
or got an R instead of an NC-17.
The whole idea is just weird for me. The whole idea is just
weird. It's weird, it's weird, but it's making a lot of money. Sort of weird.
Yeah, of course it is.
Where this is the most pre-ordered R-rated film of all time.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of excitement about this weird little book. So, as part of our PSA about 50 Shades of Grey, to make up your mind if this help you make up your mind if this is a sort of book you'd really enjoy, we're going to be doing a little dramatic reading of a passage from 50 Shades of Grey.
I'm not happy about this, but go on.
Excuse me a moment, I'm getting in character. Oh Lord, no. I have daddy issues. I have daddy issues. His breathing is ragged, matching mine.
When did you start your period anesthesia?
Oh. He asks out of the blue, gazing down at me. Yesterday, I mumble in my highly aroused state.
Good.
He releases me and turns me around.
Hold on to the sink.
He orders and pulls my hips back again, like he did in the playroom, so I'm bending down. He reaches down between my legs and pulls on the blue string. What? And gently pulls my tampon out and tosses it into the nearby toilet. Holy fuck. Sweet mother of all cheese. And then he's inside me. Skin against skin. Moving slowly at first. Easily testing me. Pushing me. Oh my. I grip onto the sink. Panting. Forcing myself back on him. Feeling him inside me. Oh, the sweet agony. His hands clasp my hips. He sets a punishing rhythm. In, out, and he reaches around to find my clitoris, massaging me. Oh, jeez. I can feel myself quicken.
That's right, baby.
He rasps as he grinds into me, angling his hips, and that's enough to send me flying high. Whoa. And I come, loudly, gripping for dear life onto the sink as I spiraled down from my orgasm, everything spinning and clenching at once. He follows, clasping me tightly, his front on my back as he climaxes and calls my name like it's a litany or a prayer.
Oh, and how?
His breathing is ragged in my ear, in perfect synergy with mine.
Oh, baby, will I ever get enough of you?
He whispers. Will it always be like this? So overwhelming, so all-consuming, so bewildering and beguiling. I want to talk, but now I'm... And scene, drop the mic.
What the hell, Fergal? You got way into that. What the hell?
It's part of my process.
Yeah, is it really? Well, man, I may as well have seen you lick your freaking lips.
You didn't see me lick my freaking lips.
It was just weird, man. It was just weird.
And now, following our uncomfortable PSA, we have reached the end of our podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, getting back into it. Thanks for joining us in the Idiot's Odyssey. I've been Owen Murphy. You can find me on Twitter at OwenM1990.
And I'm Fergal O'Connor.
And you can also find us on the Idiot's Odyssey on Facebook and Twitter at Idiot's Odyssey. And you can find us on our website, idiotsodyssey.com. Or if you want to contact us by email, idiotsodysseypodcast@gmail.com.
So basically, there is no excuse not to contact us. There are a million ways that you can loudly voice your complaints about what we just did 50 Shades of Grey.
And
we took a shitty book. We took a book that was worse than Twilight, and my God, we may have made it even shittier.
And if you want to contact us about anything else, please don't hesitate. And thanks for listening.